What is up guys, Farhan here. Welcome back to another ultimate review. This is the review of the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. Huge thanks to Royal Enfield Singapore for loaning me this bike for the review. Alright guys, so before we begin with the video, we just want to do a shout out to Cardo, who has been sponsoring us recently, and just want to do a shout out to Cardo Pack Top Neo. I've been using this recently for the past few weeks now, and I have to say that it's an awesome Bluetooth intercom when you're riding. The JBL speakers sound quality is really unparalleled, I feel, and with the DMC technology fitted on the Cardo Pack Top Neo, communication is definitely going to be improved when you're riding on the road with your partner or in a convoy. So once again, thank you Cardo for sponsoring us recently, and now back to the video.
Alright guys, once again we are back in Madini for an ultimate review, the best place to test out a motorcycle. And here I have with me is the Royal Enfield Hunter 350 in the Metro Retro variation. The Metro Retro edition is distinguishable by the two-tone fuel tank over here, as you can see, and the other variant is the Retro Hunter with the single color fuel tank and also spoke rims lah. However, both are mechanically similar lah. Both bikes are basically the same. Aesthetically, they look different. So just a bit of specs. Bike's weight is around 81 kg for a Class 2A. By today's standards, it's kind of heavy, but this actually helps to improve the lower center of gravity. And I don't really feel the weight around when I'm riding with this bike, like cornering it. Even to the point whereby I'm going in fast into a corner and I'm really leaning into it. It's a lot of grip, by the way. Fuel tank is 13 liters, okay, with a projected consumption of 36 kilometers per liter. Kind of typical for a Class 2A. So sitting on the bike right now. Kind of hot today, fasting month, but the reviews will still keep going. Especially even hotter with the riding jacket and the boots and everything. Starting it up pretty straightforward. Uses a key. Okay, twist the key, push the starter, and of course, why you get a Royal Enfield is because of the sound. Whew. Damn. And off we go. I noticed that the top is more on the low to mid range. The high end isn't really that good. But why you get a Royal Enfield is because it's the kind of bike you want to cruise in. It's not a kind of bike whereby you're supposed to go fast with. I love the handling on this. When you lean into the corners, it pretty much sticks to the ground. I feel pretty confident taking in the corner, like leaning into it even more. It does provide a nice, chill and comfortable ride when you're just cruising down the road like this. The handlebar is a bit too forward in my personal opinion, maybe because it's attributed to the lower kind of handlebar that is somewhat gives a sporty kind of riding stance. But overall, pretty fine with it if you ask me. Changing gear on this is a breeze. The brakes are pretty good, and everything about this bike screams old school lah. I mean, negotiating this corner right here, oh man. And wow, the exhaust note, I really love it. As you're accelerating, oh, you can hear that deep old school kind of exhaust note that is pretty reminiscent of riding a Harley. Oh man, I've ridden a lot of Royal Enfields, and this is by far the most refined in terms of handling and performance. And not to forget the exhaust note. This engine, the J engine, is shared with the Meteor and the classic 350, but they are more to the classic kind of styling lah, while this one really brings it into the modern era with the little touches on the bike. They're trying to attract a younger audience here with the bike. Whew. Low to mid-range is pretty good. It's the kind of bike that you'd want to have a nice, chill, relaxing cruise in. Royal Enfield did market this to be a city bike. It's meant to take on the city streets, start-stop traffic, slow traffic. You need to maneuver into that tiny gap lane splitting and all that. So they really marketed this bike with maneuverability in mind. Woo! Wow, just enjoying myself in the corner of this motorbox here, Mandini. Can feel that grip on the ground.
In response to the locally made Honda H'ness CB350, Royal Enfield made its comeback with the Hunter 350 based on the J platform as used on the Meteor and the classic 350. The Hunter is marketed as a trendy urban bike with ease of maneuverability thanks to its shorter wheelbase. It's meant to be that urban commuter that you can daily and maneuver in heavy traffic with. Engine is a 349.34cc air-cooled single-cylinder 4-stroke SOHC with electronic fuel injection and a 5-speed manual transmission. So as usual, we can start off with the riding posture. Okay, so standing on this bike right now is this standard motorcycle position. Because of the slightly lower handlebars, I'm leaning forward quite a bit. It gives it some kind of a sports bike kind of feel, but not too aggressive. And yeah, pretty comfortable, and if you ask me, I really like it lah. But after like long rides, you know, your bum tend to get a bit sore. Maybe after like you're going for a long distance, take breaks in between 2 hours of riding lah, I would reckon. Okay, so the ride height is 80 cm, I'm 165, and I'm completely flat-footed on the ground. And also, stop was weight at 181 kg. Because of the weight, the lower center of gravity is improved, and of course, this results in better handling for the Hunter 350 lah, which is why Royal Enfield touts this bike as bike for the city. Up next, we're going to talk about the general design of the Hunter 350. And a lot of reviewers say that this really looks similar to a Triumph Street Twin. But obviously, being Royal Enfield, is adapted this overall look and image from the classic British twin bikes lah. But in the case for the Hunter 350, comparing it to its sisters, the Meteor and the classic 350, which shares the same platform and engine, the Hunter has slightly modern cues, slightly narrower than the Meteor, but somewhat similar to the classic. The chunkier body and taller stance. It's got fog protectors, blackened out parts, in line with the modern retro classics that all of the manufacturers are offering lah, such as the XXR 300 and Royal Enfield's own Interceptor and Continental. Okay, so as always, as with these retro-inspired motorcycles, the centerpiece is always the engine of the bike lah. So in the case of the Hunter 350, as shared earlier, is shared with the Meteor and the Classic. And the technical term for Royal Enfield is that they refer to this engine as the J platform engine lah. So I'm not going to go into detail on the mechanics of the engine because I'm not a mechanic and I'm not an engineer also. But according to my research, this engine is pretty much old school technology with modern refinements. So this has resulted in less vibrations, more efficiency, but still retaining a very distinctive and deep exhaust note lah, as you heard in the review, which, wow, pretty sweet sounding engine to my ear, in my personal opinion. Okay, so up next is the handlebar control. So as you can see, the handlebar itself, as I mentioned, is slightly lower than the Classic and the Meteor, which resulted in this kind of sporty kind of riding position. But overall, the control layouts, the handlebar control layouts are pretty much similar. To the left over here, we got the switch tab for the high beam, low beam, and flashing light. And we got the signal indicators, horn, and to the front over here, where the flashing button will be, this button actually controls the LCD and analog gauge cluster, which we'll come to in a bit. Okay, so to the right over here, we got the switch tab for the kill switch, starter, and engine running lah. And also hazard, which I really appreciate Royal Enfield including a hazard on a classic bike like this. And not to forget, to the left handlebar control over here, there is also a hidden USB-A port that you can charge on the go, and it's really out of sight and out of mind. Unless you're charging a phone, nobody knows it's there, and it overall retains a classic look when you're not using the charging port lah. Okay, so we have come to the LCD gauge cluster, which is this slightly off-centered port over here, which is really retro and classic, a combination of LCD and analog. The LCD has just enough information on it. So we got the fuel gauge, the time, the gear indicator, and if you press between the handlebar control, you can toggle between the odometer, trip A, trip B, And back to the odometer, and we got a cluster of warning lights below the LCD display over here lah. So in my personal opinion, this part is my favorite part of the bike. Really retro, really old school, but yet modern at the same time. Unfortunately, the Hunter 350 does not come with the triple navigation that comes in with the Classic and Meteor, but it's okay. I mean, nowadays people use mobile phones to use navigation anyway, so it's not really that necessary, I feel. Another complaint that I have to make is that the mirrors, okay, this old school style round mirrors that aesthetically match with the retro inspiredness of the Hunter 350. Even though the vibrations of the engine is reduced, the mirrors tend to vibrate together with the engine's idle. So when you're looking into the mirror or when you want to check back, it does get kind of blurry, but it doesn't really bother me too much. It's just a little complaint that I have about it. So up next we come to the riding tech of the Hunter 350. As with Royal Enfield, it's mechanically Spartan in nature. There's not much riding tech on such a bike like this, but there is some riding tech on it. Okay, so just to name a few, there's dual channel ABS, a small LCD display on the gauge cluster with just enough information on display for the rider, hidden USB-A port for charging on the go. Other than that, it still uses halogen light bulbs for the lighting. The engine is very much old school technology with some modern refinements to give it a nice, comfortable and reliable ride. So horn check for the Hunter 350. It's a very classic sounding horn. Kind of reminds me of Mr. Bean's Mini. Okay, so up next we come to the colours of the Royal Enfield Hunter 350. Once again, this is the Metro Retro variation model for this Hunter 350. Yeah? The one I'm reviewing right now is called the Rebel Red. Okay, there's also Rebel Blue, Rebel Black, Dapper White, Dapper Ash, and Dapper Green. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's just the two-tone, mostly the two-tone on the tank itself and the airbox also lah. But other than that, mostly remains the same. As for the Retro Hunter variation, it comes in spoke rims and certain components have also been changed out to give it a retro kind of look to it. So finally, let's talk price. So given the COE prices have been very unpredictable, I'm just going to give you the machine price, okay, from Royal Enfield Singapore themselves. Machine price is 10,300 with effect from 23rd March. Royal Enfield Singapore is providing 3-year warranty. First servicing is free. And just for fun, for our Malaysian friends, machine price here in Malaysia is 22,000 ringgit. Also for info, parts and accessories will be available at the showroom soon. And Royal Enfield Singapore organizes a lot of rides and events, so all potential Royal Enfield owners will have a chance to be a part of it when they make the announcements.
Comes with a 5-speed manual transmission, which all the J platforms bikes are, and most of the classic British twins, they are supposed to give you that kind of classic feel. So the 5-speed manual transmission is usually prominent on all of the Royal Enfield bike. And speaking of suspension, oh my god, going through the regulating strips right now, it doesn't do too good, but I noticed that the tiny little bumps, road imperfections, small road markings, the Hunter 350 absorbs this pretty good. But if the pothole or the road marking is prominent or too deep, you can feel every bump and road imperfection. Because there's no windshield or fly screen on the bike, you can feel the wind on your body, on your face right now. But some people like it, the wind in their hair, in their face. It's that thrill, of riding a motorcycle that you'd get with this bike. And the Hunter 350 is also built for long distance touring, riding. Can also take on the mountainous roads. That's why the top is more to the low to mid range, so that it can conquer all the mountainous road off the beaten path. So you are meant to take this for off-roading, but I would reckon maybe light off-roading lah, not the kind where heavy off-road like stones and all that. That Royal Enfield already has the Himalayan for that, which is really marketed as an off-road kind of bike, so you can do some heavy off-roading. But this bike, the Hunter, you can also do some off-roading with it lah. Once again, it's not a fast bike. It's not meant for you to go fast in. It's meant for you to chill down the highway, down the road. So 90, 100 is probably the best. But let's whack this bike a bit. Oh, pretty good. 110, not bad. but you can feel the bike struggling at 110 already. So I would reckon the best is probably 90 to 100. For me, I will probably put a fly screen on the bike so that it will deflect the wind. And not to forget that exhaust note, so prominent right now. And also the vibrations, it's not that prominent, but you can feel it on your buttocks, on your handlebars, or your legs right now. But it's not that irritating like the older model, the classic 500. That one is kind of irritating till, you know, you can feel the vibrations even after you ride. But this one is okay, it's still bearable. And some ex-riders actually like it. This is what completes the characteristics of old school style British twin. Maintain speed very well. After riding it for quite some time, your bum does get a bit sore. So I would recommend like every 2 hours or 3 hours you take breaks lah. And the fuel consumption is pretty good. I've been riding it the whole time yesterday, almost the whole day, and it uses up only like 2 bars. I'm surprised. We just reached the toll here at Gelang Patah. And yeah, gonna make a U-turn at the checkpoints later. Yeah, we got a hub here. Oh man.
Right, so I had the Hunter 350 for like 7 days now, and I have tested a lot of Royal Enfield bikes. And I have to say that comparing this with other Royal Enfield bikes, the Hunter 350 is more refined. Handling is better. The performance is somewhat the same with the Meteor and the Classic, given that they share the same engine. But with the emphasis on maneuverability and easy handling for the Hunter, you know, it being conceived as a city kind of bike, in which it's supposed to be that bike that is easy to handle in heavy traffic. You want to squeeze in between cars, lane splitting and all that. I find the handling on the Hunter very awesome lah. Like even at the checkpoint, you know, when you're going through all the big trucks at Tuas checkpoint, especially on the way to Singapore, this bike handles like a cup chai, very easy. You can really squeeze through tight spots with confidence and with ease. Even I myself am pretty surprised at the handling of the Hunter 350. The handling is really awesome and nimble and agile. It's the kind of bike where if you're stuck in heavy traffic and want a lane split and those tight spaces, this bike is able to take on that challenge lah. With that said, the low to mid-range torque is pretty good, but the top end is comfortable at 90 and 100 lah. So high speed, top speed, this bike is not for you. But being Royal Enfield is meant to be a bike that you cruise around, just a nice chill ride. You're not expecting performance out of it. And also not to forget, deep and thumping exhaust notes are the highlight of the machine. And also with retro classic bikes making a comeback, Royal Enfield certainly has stepped it up to provide riders with the Hunter 350, which somewhat has modern cues that targets the younger riders especially, but still retaining that classic British twin silhouette and outlook lah. Again, it's not a bike that will appeal to everyone. It's classic looking, it doesn't have the best speed, acceleration, and there's a niche market of riders that this bike serves basically. And it's like basically asking the same thing as why would certain riders own classic bikes, two-stroke bikes, RXZ, or even Harleys, given that they're so impractical and none of the creature comforts that most of the modern era bikes come with lah. But it's a lifestyle basically. You're in it for the deep thumping exhaust notes that vibrates on your hand, on your legs, and it's a niche kind of thing lah, with the history and culture associated with such bikes, especially with Royal Enfield. So once again, huge thanks to Royal Enfield Singapore for loaning me this bike for the review. There's test rides available for these bikes and also other models, and also do let me know what you think of it. Anything you want to tell me about the Hunter 350, what you think of the review, do let me know in your comment section below. That's it for the vlog, and we will see you guys in the next one.